My name is Callum Hart. I'm 36 years old. I sell life insurance. I drive a used Highlander I rebuilt with my own hands. I have 2 kids, Declan, who's 10, and Rosie, who's 7, shared custody. I pick them up on Thursdays and every other weekend. And I never miss it, not once. I have a credit score my dad likes to brag about, usually right before he asks me to co-sign something. Just this once. Cal, you know how banks are with me. On paper, I look fine. Steady job, clean apartment, kids who are fed and loved and doing okay. But there's a version of me that's been running on fumes for 15 years. The version who learned early that the best way to survive his family was to be useful and never inconvenient. That version died at a white tablecloth restaurant on a Saturday night in October. I want to tell you exactly how it happened. I grew up the oldest of 2. My sister Brianna is 3 years younger, louder, more magnetic, and somehow perpetually between jobs, while living in apartments with exposed brick and heated floors. She has a husband named Troy, who grins through everything like a man who's never once been handed a bill. My parents, Gerald and Patrice, raised us in a house where love was expressed through proximity and obligation. Dad was loud and proud and funny in the way men are when they've never had to be accountable. Mom kept the peace by reassigning blame. If Brianna burned something, the stove was too old. If I was struggling, I just needed to try harder. I tried harder. For 2 decades, I tried harder. At 16, I drove Bri home from a party she wasn't supposed to be at. At 20, I wired my dad $300 when his bank card got flagged during a trip. At 24, I was the one who researched, called, and negotiated my parents' homeowner's insurance after their garage flooded because Dad said, "Cal, you know this stuff. It's your language." At 28, I co-signed a credit card I still get statements for. At 31, I paid their overdue property taxes because Mom called me weeping at 9:30 on a Wednesday night. And Brianna? God, the amounts were never huge at first. 140 here, 200 there. The daycare is holding his spot, Cal. The mechanic won't release the car. They want the first and last month up front. They stacked like sandbags. By the time I counted, I'd moved over $5,000 in 3 years through Venmo requests, Zelle transfers, and cash shoved into birthday cards. My ex-wife Dana used to say, "You treat your family like they're clients you're afraid to lose." She wasn't wrong. We split 2 years ago. No affair, no explosion, just erosion. Me, always on call for everyone except her. Until one day, she looked at me across the kitchen table and said she didn't recognize me anymore. The divorce was clean on paper. We share custody. We share a calendar. We're decent people trying to raise good kids. My parents framed it as my failure to keep a woman happy. Then in the same breath, they called me strong for stepping up financially for the kids. They said both things without blinking. Brianna texted me the week after the divorce was finalized. "Dana always wanted more than you could give. Anyway, can you send $180? Troy's car registration is past due." I sent it. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. Or the thing that feels like love but is actually fear, wearing love's coat. The night before Dad's 62nd birthday dinner, Mom called with that warm honeyed voice she uses when she's about to volunteer me for something I didn't agree to. "Baby, your father just wants to feel seen." 62 is actually a meaningful number if you think about it. The restaurant is called Marin. She stretched the word like she was pulling caramel. "We'll do gifts at home. Keep costs simple." "I'm the gift," I thought. I said, "Okay, Mom." Dana texted separately. "Is this the place with the $34 beet salads?" "Yep." "Bringing granola bars for the kids." "Smart," she sent. "Boundaries. Practice them tonight." I stared at that for a while. Marin had cloth napkins and a server who spoke in complete sentences. The table was a big, round corner booth. Me, Declan, Rosie, and Dana, we drove separately but agreed to sit together for the kids. My parents, Brianna, and Troy were already there. Dad ordered a bottle of wine before the menus were even opened. "Get whatever you want," he said. "It's a celebration." I did the math quietly while reading the menu. It's a reflex now. I can't eat at a nice restaurant without running numbers in the background like a low tab I can't close. Rosie leaned into my arm. "Can I have the pasta with the wavy noodles?" "Pordel," I said. "Let me look at the price." "Okay." Brianna waved down the waiter with the confidence of someone who's never once looked at the right side of a menu. 2 black truffle pastas, extra mushrooms, and the hazelnut tart to go. Oh, and the sourdough basket. She tapped her nails on the table, the phone case I bought her for Christmas because hers had cracked. When the food arrived, 2 shallow white boxes came with it, tied with gold ribbon, settled at Brianna and Troy's elbows like gifts. The restaurant air smelled like brown butter and good decisions. Rosie's eyes went wide. She leaned toward the box the way kids do when they sense something good and aren't sure if it belongs to them. "Are those for dessert?" she whispered to me. "Those are for my boys at home," Brianna said, not unkindly, just casually, the way you'd say the printer's out of ink. They get so picky about restaurants. Her boys, who weren't there at a dinner that was supposedly about family. Declan looked at his water glass. He's 10. Old enough to understand what's happening and young enough that it still stings clean. Then Dad did the thing. He plucked 2 cloth napkins from the stack by the breadbasket and tossed them. Actually tossed them like dealing cards across the table toward my kids. They landed near Rosie's wrist. "Your 2 can eat when you get home," he said, already grinning at his own joke. "No need to fill them up on overpriced pasta." Troy laughed. "Next time feed him before you come." "Rookie move, brother," I said. "Got it." And then I waited. I breathed. I watched the table settle back into small talk, like nothing had happened. I watched Rosie look at the napkin by her hand, and then look at me. Something in my chest, something that had been bending for 15 years, went very, very still. The waiter came back with a smile. "Can I get anything else for the table?" I stood up. My chair scraped the floor. The table went quiet in that slow, syrup-thick way when people realize a conversation is about to become a moment. "Could we get separate checks by household?" I said. My voice came out calm, almost boring. "One for my parents, one for Brianna and Troy, one for me and my kids." Brianna blinked. "What?" Dad laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Sit down, Cal, we'll sort it." "No," I said, "we'll sort it now." Troy leaned back. "Dude, don't be that guy." Dana didn't say anything. She reached across the table and held Rosie's hand. She didn't need words, neither did I. The waiter looked at me with the calm of someone who's refereed this exact scene before. "Of course, I can itemize everything." "Thank you." Dad crossed his arms. Mom smiled, her tight smile, the one that means stop before this becomes a thing. Brianna's eyes darted to the boxes. Mom started. Then she caught herself. "Callum, don't do this on your father's birthday." "I'm not doing anything to his birthday," I said. "I'm choosing how I spend my money." "You're embarrassing the family," Dad said, voice dropping low. "My family," I said, and I looked at Declan and Rosie when I said it. "Is these 2? And they're not embarrassed." Brianna shoved the bill toward me. "Just handle it and send us requests later. You're better at this stuff." I didn't touch it. "No." One word. "No." No explanation attached to it. The kind of no that doesn't need scaffolding because it was built over 15 years of yeses that cost too much. Dad's voice went quiet in a way that's somehow louder than shouting. "You're punishing your sister." "I'm not," I said. "I'm ordering my kids' dinner." I turned to the waiter. "Can you add 2 kids' pastas to my check? Plain butter, nothing fancy." "Absolutely." Dad slapped the table once. Not hard, just declaratively, the sound of authority being performed. "You don't tell us how to spend our money." "I'm not. I'm telling you how I spend mine." Mom tried soft. "Be reasonable, baby." "I am reasonable," I said. "Reasonable is not paying for a table that tells my children to wait while boxing food for kids who aren't here. It's pasta. It's the signal it sends," I said, and I'm done pretending not to receive it. A beat of silence that felt like weather changing. I looked around the table at my dad, who built his authority on my compliance. At my mom, who kept the peace by making me the shock absorber. At my sister, who learned young that I was a resource, not a person. At Troy, still grinning because he's never once been the one to figure out the bill. And I said this clearly, without heat. I've covered a lot of checks at this table. I've co-signed accounts I'm still attached to. I paid the property taxes last winter. I've Venmo'd emergencies I never heard about again. I'm not a bank. I'm not a backup plan. I'm an insurance agent who is very good at reading the fine print. And the fine print of this family is that my yes was never appreciated. It was just expected, Brianna whispered to Mom. He's really doing this. He'll cave. Dad murmured. He didn't know me anymore. The kids' pastas came out fast. Butter golden, simple with a little cloud of Parmesan. Rosie smiled so wide her eyes crinkled. Declan said, "Thanks, Dad," in a quiet, serious voice that will stay with me for the rest of my life. "You're welcome," I said. And I ate my own food steadily while the table around me recalibrated. When the checks came, I signed mine. $79 with tip. Reasonable. Dad slid his check toward me with one finger like a chess move. "Last chance," he said. "No," I said. I helped Rosie with her jacket. I reminded Declan about his hat. Dana stood too, quiet and solid, a shield without being asked to be one. "You're walking out on your father's birthday," Mom said. "I'm walking out with my children," I said. "We'll call tomorrow. You'll regret this." Dad said, "I used to think that." I said, "Turns out, regret every time I didn't do it sooner." I put one hand on Declan's shoulder and one on Rosie's back, and we walked out through the heavy door into the October air. Sharp, cold, clean. In the car, Rosie swung her feet against the seat. "Are we in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," I said, buckling her in. "We're just in a different chapter now." "Do chapters have pasta?" she asked. "The best ones do." The next morning, my phone was a siren. 29 texts, 14 missed calls, a family group chat that had escalated from dinner updates to, "How could you?" In under 11 hours, I made pancakes. Declan measured the flour with scientific seriousness. Rosie stirred with her whole body. We ate in our pajamas at a table that felt, for the first time in a long time, like mine. At 10 o'clock a.m., Mom called. I picked up. "Your father didn't sleep," she said. "I did," I said. "You humiliated him." I split a check. She cycled through her repertoire. Disappointment, then softness, then the oldest pressure point of all. "Your sister struggles." I listened. I didn't argue. When she said, "Your father wants you to apologize," I said I won't. When she said, "He wants his Costco card back," I said I'll cancel it this afternoon. Silence. "There's no need to be vindictive." "I'm not being vindictive," she said. "I'm being consistent," I said. She hung up. Dad texted in 4 separate messages. "You embarrassed your mother. Be a man. Don't come by until you can behave." Then 60 seconds later, "Bring the pressure washer when you get a chance. The sighting's getting green again." I stared at that thread for a long time. Then I put the phone down and finished my coffee. Brianna found her platform by evening. She posted a photo of Dad's untouched dessert with a caption, "Nothing like birthday drama to remind you who's actually showing up for family." Her friends left hearts, "And you're so strong, and some people just can't handle love." Monday morning, a wall of text from her. "No greeting. You made Mom cry." Chuck Troy says you were rude to the entire table. Dad is reconsidering how much he helps with my boys. You know money isn't everything. Can you send $150 for school picture packages? They sprung it on us. I typed and deleted 100 responses. I sent 2 letters. "No," she replied instantly. "So, that's how it's going to be." "Yes," I wrote, "that's how it's going to be." The weeks after were strange and quiet and real. I made a list, canceled the Costco sub-account, removed Dad's card from my Apple Wallet, audited the streaming subscriptions, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, all still active on my card for 3 adults who had never once said thank you. Checked the joint emergency savings account Dad had insisted on 5 years ago because we're a team. Cal, there was $43 in it. He had withdrawn every single emergency as cash. I closed it. Dana came by to pick up the kids. She looked at my laptop screen at the tabs and the lists. "You need help?" She tilted her head. "You always say that. I mean it this time." She studied my face, then nodded. "Okay then. Quiet." The kids felt safe last night. Whatever you did, they felt it. That was the one I saved. A Thursday night, new number, gravel voice on the line. "Mr. Hart, this is Roy at Eastside Towing. We have a Honda Civic registered to a Brianna Hart. She listed you as the secondary card holder." The old life knocking. "I'm not on that account anymore," I said. Release it or hold it. I won't be paying. A pause. She's, pretty upset with my guys. I'm sorry, I said. 2 words I'd been keeping for myself. Dad showed up at my door at 11:48 on a Tuesday night. My Ring camera caught him jaw set, hands in his jacket pockets. He rang twice, then knocked once, stepped back, looked directly into the camera lens like he was looking for me inside it. When I didn't come down, he said to the empty porch. Fine, be alone then. See how that works for you. He walked back to his truck. The porch light clicked off on its timer. I watched the clip 3 times. I felt something I didn't expect. Not anger, not guilt, just clarity, the kind you can only get from the far side of a long decision. I slept soundly for the first time in months. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my grandmother, Nana Bev, 86, sharp as a letter opener. You did the right thing, she said. No preamble. How do you know what I did? Your mother called crying. Your father called grumbling. Your sister called twice. When all 3 call within a day, whoever's left is usually right. She paused. Your grandfather told his brothers no once about a truck he'd lent them for 6 months. They called him heartless. He slept better for 20 years after. I laughed. The real kind. The chest kind. Bring the kids for biscuits, she said. I'll tell you which cousins owe me money. At least they pay in stories. We went. She did. It was the most healing afternoon I'd had in years. Here's what I know now. On the other side of it, boundaries don't harden you. They just put your softness where it belongs. Declan asked me one night at bedtime, "Are we still going to Grandpa's on Sundays?" Not for a while, I said. Is that because of the dinner? It's because of a lot of dinners, I said. He nodded slowly. It was rude. What Grandpa said to Rosie. Yeah, I said. It was. You didn't get mad though. I got clear. Which is better? He thought about that. Okay then. Can we have pancakes tomorrow? Always. Rosie drew a picture the next day. 2 white boxes on one side of a crayon table. Us on the other side. A big, bold line down the middle. She stuck it on the fridge right next to her swimming schedule. Both are still there. This isn't a story about punishing my family. I don't hate them. I don't want revenge. Some part of me still hopes they learn something, though I've stopped making that my project. This is a story about what happens when the most reliable person in the room finally decides to be reliable for himself. I'm a dad now. First. Not a safety net. Not a second wallet. Not the person who absorbs the bill and smiles, drives home in silence, and calls it love. Love, I've decided, looks like sitting at a table where everyone present gets to eat. Not just the people who weren't even there. If someone in your life takes your reliability for granted, if your yes has become their oxygen while your needs are a punchline, this is your sign. You don't have to leave loudly. You don't have to write a speech. You just have to mean it when you say no. That's all. That's the whole thing. Cảm ơn lắng nghe. Comment, like, subscribe. Nếu thấy hữu ích hãy góp ý cho chúng tôi.